Hello fans, thank you for joining me, JP Toys 97 here, for the final video review of Jurassic June 2021. We've been taking a look at a lot of Papo figures. I've been bombarding the channel with Papo dinosaurs. Hopefully people have been enjoying these videos. I've had a lot of Papos on backup that I just never reviewed, so I've been taking this time to finally get some of those reviews here on the channel. We'll be closing Jurassic June out here as we take a look at the Papo 2020 Stygimoloch. I find it very coincidental this figure was released in 2020 because also in 2020 Papo discontinued their Pachycephalosaurus here, the 2005-2006 Pachycephalosaurus, very Lost World inspired. So this figure was discontinued, and then they released this other Pachycephalosaurid, maybe to have some type of Pachy on their line, so if you can't get this guy or if you already have this guy. Regardless, either way, it's very coincidental to me. Very much like the Papo Amargasaurus, when this figure released, it was getting some pretty mixed reviews. The reception was mixed. A lot of people were saying that the detail wasn't up to that Papo standards. Pretty much all the same issues that were with the Papo Amargasaurus that we already reviewed. So I didn't really let the reviews kind of bug me. I think they've kind of balanced out here a bit as some time has gone on. But I picked this figure up around this past holiday season in December, so I've had him in my possession for a good couple months now. Just haven't got around to opening him for a review here. This one comes in a completely sealed bag, no type of labeling anywhere here on the bag to say it's a Papo Stygimoloch. But yeah, either way, let's tear into this bag. Ooh, fresh from the plastic. So to me, right away, this figure is very much similar to the Papo Pachycephalosaurus, the way the stance is. They have a very similar looking stance. They just kind of inverted the pose to be facing the other direction. You can see the way the tails curve and the way the heads are looking. Similar pose. Both figures use their tail for a little bit of support. It might bug some people because they feel like the figure should stand like this, but it really sits like that with the tail for balance. So apples and oranges here. It's not really that huge of a difference to me. Doesn't bug me. So right out of the plastic, I am liking this guy. I know the major complaint was the paint schemes and people saying that the detail just wasn't there, but when you look at this closely, the scaling work, you can see the veins and you can even very faintly see the rib cage right there. When you take a closer look at this figure and you see all that detail and you can appreciate it. Stygimoloch, name translation, demon from the river Styx. This is a very controversial dinosaur, I know. There are many paleontologists and scientists that believe that this was just a juvenile Pachycephalosaurus. We're not going to go too much into that, but I mean, regardless of your stance on this dinosaur being a juvenile Pachy or an actual different species of Pachycephalosaurid, he definitely has some characteristics here on his head that makes him stand out a little bit differently from a Pachycephalosaurus. But I do somewhat believe maybe that the speculation that this was just a juvenile Pachy, and as he would grow up, these horns on the back of his head would either break or fall off while headbutting others. The unique spikes on here on Stygimoloch's head dome piece always really stood out to me. They're a little bit exaggerated here on this Papo figure, but Papo is kind of notorious for exaggerating some of the features on their dinosaurs, so these two back here just make me think of reindeer antlers almost, but it's not all terrible. Just these two ones seem overly big a little bit. But yeah, what a great head sculpt on this figure. Look at that detail there. Probably not even going to be able to get a good shot there of the mouth, but you can see he's got a tongue and the innards of his mouth is painted a fleshy color. He's got a yellow eye with a black pupil, and around the outside of his eye there's a little bit more black both sides. I love all the little lumps and ridges on this dome and on his face, especially up here by the snout. Really nice. And along his spikes and on his dome piece there's some faint gray colors sprinkled throughout to make it look like it has some wear and tear, obviously. You can definitely pick it up there on the spikes. It's got some gray. I love the weathering colors of the beak on this figure. Like, so fantastic. The figure for the most part is this light dullish brown mixed with green. I want to say it's the majority of this figure is green. Comes with this little plastic base. But yeah, here's how he kind of stands. You get the golden Papo tag here around his neck. So in a way I can understand why some people think the skin color tones here are a little bit dull and boring, but as I've said many times over, I kind of love the browns and the tans and the different shades of greens on my Papo dinosaur figures and just dinosaur figures in general. The figure has some green striping here along his tail, which continues up to his body about there, and then it stops, and it kind of morphs into the brown. Underside of the figure is the light tan colors. And then down here on his legs it switches back, morphs into a green. I don't care what anyone says, that's some pretty great sculpting work here on the legs and on the toes in that area. Black toe claws. And if you look closely enough too, his finger claws are also painted black, and the underside of his hands are brown, but the top side is green. See the ribs and the musculature. Took me a while to finally realize this, but he has a little stamp hidden here on the inside of his leg. I kind of like when they hide them like that pretty good. It's got a stamp that says Papo 2020 made in PRC. I am very pleased with this Papo Stygimoloch figure. I prefer the Papo Pachycephalosaurid, obviously, but this was always a neat, unique dinosaur, regardless if he was just a juvenile Pachycephalosaurid or not. The Papo Stygimoloch comes in at about 3.5 inches in length. It was a little bit difficult to measure him correctly because he's kind of curved and arched, but it comes in at about 3.5 inches in length and about 3 inches tall. Size comparison here, if you have the Papo Pachycephalosaurid, he sizes up very well with him. Pretty much the same height. So you're getting a pretty similar figure here if you don't have the Pachycephalosaurid. Look great next to each other though. So my Papo Pachycephalosaurid now has a buddy. Do a couple other size comparisons here. Papo Velociraptor. Paporaptor has him a little bit there on height. And here's the recently reviewed Papo Gorgosaurus. And why not here? Here's the Papo Armargosaurus, recently reviewed. And you guessed it, the last figure, the Papo Brown Tyrannosaurus Rex. That concludes my review of the Papo 2020 Stygimoloch, late Cretaceous herbivore. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Do give it a thumbs up and post a comment down below and let me know what you think of the Papo Stygimoloch. Do you have him in your collection? Even with the exaggerated features on this figure, I still am confident enough in giving him a recommendation. I love when Papo and any company goes with like these simplistic colors. It just comes across as believable, and like I know some people might think it's minimal and boring, just browns and greens, but I don't know, I really enjoy it when any company does that. He'll fit right in with all your other Papo dinosaurs, trust me, ladies and gentlemen. And a very special thank you for tuning in this entire month and joining me for some Papo reviews. What a Jurassic June it was. I spent the entire month, I think I watched the original trilogy at least a good 3 times over the course of this entire month. I don't have a problem, you have a problem. And then watched Jurassic World, I busted this out. And then during the second week of Jurassic June, I swapped over and started watching some good old Dinotopia. Very nostalgic for these two as well, mainly the original series here. This was okay if you wanted some continuation and wanted more, but this one right here from 2002, the original mini-series, is where it's at. I'd only recommend this if you're a mega fan. During the third week, I went to some Walking with Dinosaurs. the original series, followed by the Allosaurus special, and then recently purchased this month, I bought this, Chased by Dinosaurs, because I just couldn't get enough. And the final week, I watched some of the Discovery Channel Dinosaur Essential Pack. There's a lot of content here on this DVD, 2-disc DVD, and just T-Rex Back to the Cretaceous IMAX DVD. I've had this for a while. So absolutely no shortage of dinosaur-themed content for me this month. It was pretty crazy, let me say. Maybe I went a little bit overboard with the amount that I watched this month, but it's Dinosaur Appreciation Month as well as Jurassic Park Appreciation Month, so you can't go wrong. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you in the next video.